Hi everyone, good evening, namaskar, Sat Sri Akal. So I welcome you all to this very special session, and I've been wanting to do this kind of session since a year, and finally we have a chance, and we have very special guest. He is the father of one of our best students, I would call, Aratrik Pal, and he's himself a pass out from IIT Kharagpur. He's from 99 batch, if I is that right, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I truly believe that there is a lot of role which parents can play, should be playing at this age, and it's a very tender age, and they have to be, kept uh, in a very special, safe environment. The students, and there's a lot of role which students, which parents, play at this point of time in their academic journey, and we'll be discussing all these points. So we'll be starting with brief introduction of sir, if you could briefly tell us about yourself, and first of all, before I do that, I just want to ask you, how does it, how do you feel being called Aratrik's father, now?
Actually, I'll tell you. I mean, this is the discussion we were having just today morning.
Okay.
I mean, these guys had gone in for their APMO,
Huh.
and it was like, I mean, one of the parents was saying that now we are known as our son's parents
Yeah.
or a daughter's parent.
Yeah,
How
that's
does
true.
it feel? I said, does it really make a difference? I mean, first of all, yes, there's a huge amount of pride,
Yes.
and the thing is that uh, although 99% of the credit goes to the person who has executed it,
Yes.
but I think even if it's 1% that we have been able to be there, if not nothing else, I mean, I think that's a huge achievement. I mean, especially in today's world.
True. True. So we'll
And
be briefly talking about academics, Aratrik's academic journey, followed by what role you had as a mentor, guide, and so we got in touch sometime around September last year, and
second,
again I remember we had a call after your mail, and so I could actually uh, uh, linked to a lot of things that you were saying, right? And instantly we we never lost touch, and we've been in touch since then. And I think there is a lot of things that you can add, as a parent. You can share your role as a Rasik's mentor, guide, and it is going to be a huge lesson for the other parents, who. So I would categorize parents into two categories, right? So one is the parents who are very aware. So again, you kind of know uh, the weaknesses, the strong points of our Rasik's academic part. And there would be parents who might not be so much actively involved in the academic journey, but again they know that broadly what are the strong and the weak points. So again, how can the two be linked? And secondly, if we are the second kind, not very much involved in the academic part because of whatever reason, and also
mm,
because of you of course have the background of mathematics and engineering and whatever Aratrik is doing is kind of following the same route. There would be parents who might not be, having the same academic background as their kids. So how can they help in the child's journey? And of course, also the advice in a way we'll talk about advice to the fellow parents. So let's
Okay.
start with Aratrik's academic journey. So again, I think you are the best person who can start his
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so before I begin, let me be very clear about one thing, that I am not an expert on pedagogy. So it is basically, I mean, you can say it's basically a catalog of my experiments in bringing up my son. And another thing is that, see, you cannot disassociate academics from all the other aspects of life. I mean, especially as a parent. I mean, it's a complete whole, right? So now, to start with it, let me tell you this, that the journey started. The journey started 12 years ago, 2012. Now you might, I mean, many might feel shocked about it. That, I mean, what is he talking about? I mean, you're teaching a 3-year-old how to solve Olympiad problems. No, it happened like this. I mean, uh, it was one of my habits, and 2012 was like it was the pre-Amazon India days or something like that, right? So I had something like this, that it was more of a break for me or something like that. Saturdays or Sundays. I mean, during the weekend, I used to take a couple of hours break and go to the nearest bookshop. And at the time, I was in Bangalore, and it was Sapna Book House. I mean, this has a huge relevance to what followed, and it was one such instance. And I used to rifle through all the technical books and everything, and I had a something like, obviously, look into the discounted section. I mean, being a typical Indian, you always have the eye on what is at the discounted. And there I observed a title. I mean, it was lying just, I mean, the not so hot seller or something. And the name of the book was Mathematical Mosaic by Ravi Vakil. Mind it, at that time, I had never heard of Ravi Vakil. I had no idea who he was. I started rifling through the book, and it was like, honestly, it was the first time I actually came to know about Olympiads. And my first reaction was, wow. I mean, it had, brief snippets about many of the IMO awardees, their journeys, some, very interesting tidbits on numbers, etc., on mathematics. Plus, I mean, one of the guys was Richard Rusjik, which whom I later came to know as the founder of Art of Problem Solving. Later, mind it.
Mm.
So I immediately picked it up, and I actually went through it cover to cover. And my first reaction was, "My God, what a thing we have missed."
Mm.
But then I stopped myself, that okay, and then I was curious about one thing, that from from that day onwards, the first thing was I started observing what he was enjoying. And the first thing that I observed was, I mean, obviously, you have the menace of Doraemon and Shinchan and all that on the telly. But apart from that, he used to spend a lot of time with those puzzle pieces. You have it
Yeah,
for
nice.
kids of that age.
Yeah,
Yes,
nice to joining those pieces.
yes. I mean, he used to spend enormous time on them, and he used to enjoy it. So, I mean, that was a thought, that maybe that is, geometrical perception, that is something, keep it in your mind, and that way. So, slowly what
This is
happened was
we are
that
talking about
I,
3-year-old Aratrik, right?
3 year,
Okay,
he was just 3 years old.
okay.
Okay. So next what happened, some things have happened, like, the general perception is you have to put him to a good school and everything. I never resisted, but on hindsight, what happened was for the best. I mean, somehow applications got rejected and everything. And I remember I was in Delhi at that point of time, and I got a call कि उसका तो यहाँ पे भी नहीं हुआ, किस स्कूल में जाएगा. मैं बोला ठीक है. I mean, let me see. So I actually had attended Art of Living course, right? And I had talked to one of these guys, and that started a very small school. Ravi Shankar Vidya Mandir,
Yeah.
right? I just called him up, said, yeah, yeah, sir, bring along. And I think that was one of my most correct decisions I have ever taken.
And the
I
most
mean,
courageous one.
he actually enjoyed those 2 years, those two very formative years. This was even before class one,
Okay.
right? I mean, he started enjoying it. But then what happened was that he would come to me, he wouldn't do his homework. I
Hmm.
mean, especially math. And I started talking to him. Why? I mean, and I remember this thing was, Papa, it's so boring. 1 plus 1 is always 2.
Yeah.
So why do I have to do it again and again? Now, see, my thing was, yes, okay. Now, what do I reply? It's a very, I mean, if you think about it from a child's perspective, it's not that easy, simple to make him explain. So I said, okay, fine, you're getting bored. Let's try something like this. So you won't imagine it. It was his, I think, even before class one. I tried to teach him, the carry and multiple, and he started enjoying.
Okay.
Give me, give me more, give me more. I said okay, and that's how it began. And then the thing was that then I started thinking that, and I was actually looking at the NCRT books and all that. And well, I mean, you all know how they are. I mean, I don't have to specify it. So I thought that, okay, what next? Then it started coming. At that level, what is non-routine mathematics? You tell me, sir. So what I did was I had a copy of Trachtenberg's speed system of mathematics. I mean, I had obtained it during my undergraduate years. So I said that let me see, if he can start on this. And he was hooked. He got hooked into it.
Amazing.
Other thing was I had got a copy of Vedic mathematics from Art of Living. And I mean, see, those were interesting things. I mean, I also didn't know many of those tricks and all that. So those were the things, and that actually, started rousing his curiosity. But
This is
now,
before
let
class one.
this is class one, class two.
Okay.
Another thing was this. At that point of time, I mean, my see all this was basically during my free time. I mean, mainly during the weekends. I mean, obviously weekdays it was not possible. So then what happened was that they had this. You have it in your those problem sheets, exercise sheets. Fill in the blanks, right? Dash plus 5 = 10. Fill in
Yes.
the blank. At that point of time, I was actually trying to, because mind it, I'm talking about 2013, 14, when things were, I mean, there was scarcity regarding Olympiads. I mean, knowledge, material, everything. I mean, you didn't have anything.
Yes.
Okay. So the thing was that I was actually, communicating with some of my batchmates who were there in US, asking them to send me copies of the. I mean, I remember I actually referred to something called California mathematics and that sort of stuff. And there I was saying that again, I'm not. I mean, they have their own flaws, but on one side there was a clear, at least an objective for algebra readiness at a very early age. So I said, okay, how do I try that out? And suddenly it struck me that actually they're doing algebra. Dash plus 5 is equal to 10. Now that remove that dash and put in x.
Hmm.
I mean, take that that Hawa away from the X, Y, Z and all that. And he was like ecstatic. Let me put it that way. And give me more. And that's when the problem came. Where do I start you with? So the first thing I did was I obtained, I think, see, we used to do those elementary algebra from by Holland Knight, the classic textbooks.
Yeah, that was
Started
in
doing it.
11th and 12th.
No, no, no. Elementary is school level.
Yeah,
Higher
but
algebra
I
is
remember
11th and 12th.
yeah, so I didn't have, I didn't go through any of these books. I started everything that I know today in class 11th only, right? So before that, it was zero.
वो हम भी किए हुए हैं। वो- तो but don't get me wrong. See, at that point of time, I was not sure. I mean, he was enjoying. He was enjoying. I mean, a normal kid enjoying, and that's why I actually break it down into three stages. This past you can say 10 years or whatever. The first half was exploration. That was I was trying to observe what made him tick. Where he wanted I mean, he was doing everything. I mean, you can understand the school was promoting spell bee, everything. He was a national spell bee winner in class 1. I mean, he went to Chennai to attend the function and everything. Okay, then obviously the SOF thing. Now here I have a different perspective. I mean, see, even at that level, the SOF Olympiads also have certain value.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
they do
that's
a
my
lot of
personal.
value. They have a
Yeah.
lot of value.
Why? Yeah. Why I'm telling you is that, see, the first thing that I observed was that, and I was comparing with our experience. The first external examination that I gave was NTS,
Me too.
and that was in class 10th.
Yes.
And it was, yeah, I mean, it was a bittersweet experience. Let me put it that way. Right, because you had to go to a different town. In my case, it was a different town, a different school, and everything was everything was new. So I had observed that. I mean, like, it was just an exam after especially the second round, when he went to the second round in SOF and all that. But yes, the problem was that from the very beginning I told him that, see, I mean, keep your feet in the gun. I mean, these gold medals and all that. I mean, it's okay, be pleased, but I mean, this is actually not. This is not the ultimate Olympiads.
Yes.
So that was his journey. I mean, till fourth he was doing that. I mean, he had done. I mean, just to be brief, I mean, like in class one, he was like he stood internet. They have this international rank, right? In International English Olympiad,
Hmm.
mind it. Okay. Then in class two, it was international rank one in SOF IM. Then in class three, it was international rank three in National Cyber Olympiad. So it was all exploration at that point of time. I mean, it was never one thing. The only thing that I used to tell him is that, see, you choose. He would say, Papa, I want to sit for this. I said that, see, you choose, but the only thing is that you should be putting in your level best. That's what I want. I don't care about what the final result is or not. But it's not like you should not be playing with this. Just others are sitting. That's why I want to sit. No, do it. Give it your best.
But again,
So
sir, Mr.
that's
Clement,
how it.
right? I'll have to stop here. But uh, I mean, we are talking about a child who is in class one, two, three, who would not
Yes,
particularly understand that I am doing this because others are doing this. He would not understand this line, right? So how important was your role in
but
making him aware about all
no.
these things?
See, yes, yes. But see, the thing is that you understand. See, these Olympiads are promoted by the school, and
Yes,
the school actually hones in on the guys who are doing well
yes,
in the school curriculum, and they know that you put them in, and whatever publicity, whatever, like he has appeared for, I mean, astronomy was another of his favorite subjects at that point of time. I mean, National Astronomy Olympiad by Orange Education or something. It appeared for, I mean, gone to the final level. I mean, within top 10 or something like that, and all that. Did all that. Then, then finally what happened was that, I mean, this was going on till class 4. So this was actually the exploration phase. Then what
Okay.
happened? I have told you in class 5, it was like, okay. Here one thing, another big influencing. I mean, there have been many positive influences down the line. I mean, his first role model I remember was a guy named Tanmay Bakshi. Now you can Google Tanmay Bakshi is actually one of the youngest, you can say contributors in IBM TJ Watson Labs.
Okay.
I mean, at the age of 12 or 13. Okay. So it was like wow moment from him. And then the thing was that it was not seeing him, but another thing was that he would always observe what I was doing. And I made it a point that I would never say no. You know, maybe it was like an inversion of how we had been brought up. जैसे इसमें था ना वो कौन सा मूवी में द 5 point someone
Hmm.
99 मिले तो घड़ी नहीं तो छड़ी.
Hmm.
I mean, I was consciously or unconsciously trying to invert that
Okay.
because I knew it had its, it had its negative implications,
Hmm.
right? So the thing was that I remember he was in class 1. I was actually working on a project, and it was using Octave. I mean, the open source version of MATLAB. I mean, it's all matrix multiplication, linear algebra. Papa, teach me Octave. What do you do? You say no, it's beyond you.
Hmm.
I mean, I had to give it a thought. What do I do?
Huh.
Okay, I tried to explain to him. I mean, I took my time. Explain to him what is a matrix. You have these numbers, you arrange them this way, there are certain rules. And then I told him that, okay, you can use MATLAB. I actually, that was the first thing that I told him that, see, all these things that you're doing. I mean, he was doing small, simple equations, and all that. These have a physical bearing. You can plot them. And it was wow, another wow moment that, okay, these are not just, something on the paper. You can visualize them. And that's how it was. Another an anecdote I remember, why I'm mentioning is this. I remember around class, I think it was class 1 or 2, most probably. I used to tell him that, you need to practice, you know, maths and everything, you'll forget and all that. One fine day, he just asked me, why practice?
Hmm.
What do I tell him? Practice makes a man perfect. A child won't be able to understand that. I said, okay, I'll get back to you. And you won't believe it. I had to do my own research. I actually dialed up one of my batchmates who is neurosurgeon right now. I told him, hey boss, this is what my son is asking. What do I reply? I mean, this is not an elementary question.
Huh.
You explain to me. And he was laughing. And he told that, see, yes, it is not an elementary question. Then he actually explained to me. Let's see, the concept of mirror neurons. This is how they work. This is the effective. And then he said, you do one thing, you read this book. And he actually pointed me to a book called Mastery by Robert Greene. And I actually, over one weekend, I finished that book. And then I said, okay, I'm ready to answer your question.
If you practice something 10,000
I
times.
mean, there have, yes. And what happens? I mean, it's like, how your, the connections are made in your brain, etc., etc. I mean, as simple as possible. You have to get down to that level. You can understand. Another incident was another very similar. I mean, there have been numerous. I've been flummoxed, right? For example, I never told him that you are not going to use the internet or anything. Like for example, he The summer of I think summer after he had completed his first grade. Papa, I want to do programming. Now, lo and behold, how do you teach 7-year-old kid how to program? I had to do my research. I found out there was a book called Python for Kids,
Oh, okay.
and I said that okay, start this. I was thrilled. I mean, it was like all visualization. I mean, it was using some Python package for visualization and all that. I was completely thrilled with it, and that's his. I mean, that was the genesis of his learning in Python. Why I'm saying this is that see, it is not a one dimensional thing. I mean, he has been doing all these things. I mean, his programming journey is like something completely different. You'll find his public repositories on GitHub.
Oh,
So
amazing.
the thing is
Absolutely.
that, and so I mean, to cut a long story short, what happened was that in when he was in fourth grade. I mean, as I told you at that time, getting the proper books was a huge challenge. I didn't know. I mean, how to start. I mean, I knew that he was interested in maths, and I was seeing that he was completely. You won't believe it. Since I think second grade, he has never studied before a school maths exam. I mean, जाके दे देता है. I'm ठीक है. I mean, like all other kids, he makes silly mistakes and everything, but never prepares for. So that actually made me realize. I mean, there were conversations with some of the teachers where they used to ask me, "How does he manage?" And I used to also. Most of the kids are terrified of mathematics, and to one of the teachers, I said that maybe this is my observation. I might be wrong. You are the teachers. I'm just an outsider. Maybe it is. See, the kids are not afraid of mathematics. They're actually afraid of failure.
Afraid of what?
You know, afraid of failure, failing time and again.
Yes.
I mean, there are a lot of things. I mean, the syllabus is boring. You do the same thing again and again, and many things contribute to it. But actually, for a kid, it's not a failure of it's not the
Fear of
fear of
maths.
maths. It's the fear of failure that actually, yeah, gets inside it. Starts gnawing inside it. This is a one subject I'm going to fail again.
Hmm.
So I mean, at least I was able to safeguard him from that. I mean, maths was like I never used to study. I mean, I'm telling you, since second grade, never studied for any school maths exam. I mean, the finals, whatever. Anyway, then what happened was, one of the things was the SOF. What happened was, up to class two, he was like very conversant. कुछ नहीं करना है, ऐसे ही हो जाता है, everything. From class three, he was feeling some sort of a problem. The problem was the time. Because till then, he was doing it the standard way. Then, luckily, what happened was that, he asked me, I took a look at it. And honestly, I mean, again, this is my perspective. The SOF, at least, because I have seen till, I think he gave his last SOF exams till class fifth. After that, no. So it was more mental ability thing, and that is where his those Trachtenberg and everything came into play. Digital sum methods and everything. You immediately read the question, look at the options, use some heuristic, get at the answer. Because otherwise, if you want to attack them, the direct route, it's very difficult within the given time.
For a second year or third year student.
So I mean, those were experimentations
Hmm.
on that front. I mean,
Okay,
till
so
class fourth. I mean, third and fourth, third and fourth grade. I mean, this happened during third and fourth,
okay.
third and fourth, and he used to use it till class five. Then what happened was, uh, the first thing I came across this book by, again I'm mentioning a few books because they really helped in him enjoying mathematics. Let me put it that way initially. So this was something called SAP Mathematics Olympiad by Terry Chiu in Singapore. I mean, I got them in Bangalore, and they're really good. And he enjoyed. I mean, I was not able to get the junior versions. I was only able to get the intermediate and advanced versions. But you won't believe it there because you are in this particular field. Even in the intermediate one, the method of telescoping and everything was taught, and in a very beautiful way. So that actually his, I mean, he used to enjoy it. Next, what happened? I think the next trigger was 2000. I think 2009. Yeah, 2019-20. Again, before.
COVID.
Okay, so it was sometime around November. What happened was that one evening he came to me. He had I mean, he had got a tab from his Pelby contest and everything. I mean, as an award. So he had his tablet and everything. He showed me an article, and the article was regarding Pranjal.
Anjal. Okay.
2019-20.
Okay.
Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. Said, yeah. See, Papa, I want to be like. I mean, it's a child. I mean, please don't take it otherwise. I was like, man, I mean, you are putting me in very tight spots. So I said, okay, let's see. Because उस time पे पता आपको पता नहीं. I mean, I was trying to figure out. I had talked to many. I mean, I had contacted Fitji, Alan, and everything. And the courses that they were offering were basically, this IIT JEE Foundation wrapped as Olympiad courses or something like that.
Hmm.
So I was not satisfied. So I said that okay, let's see. And then I started, getting a few of those books. One was I told you, Shailesh Chirali, because see, I was trying to make a plan. Right. The thing was that yes, in algebra I had elementary algebra whole night, at least the foundation. So since class fifth and sixth, as I said, there are three stages as I define it. One was exploration, the second was foundation, and the current stage is consolidation. That's how I put it. Okay. So till his fourth, it was exploration. Fifth and sixth, it was foundation, building the foundation. And so you needed proper, textbooks for that, for the foundation. So in algebra, I had found Holland Knight. In, elementary number theory, it was Mr. Shirali's book. It's a beautiful book. Algebra or something like that. Yeah, arithmetic and algebra, numbers and the beginning, and the beginnings of algebra, something like that. So, and that actually hooked him into number theory. But the real problem I faced was, what do I do about geometry? Because what I had seen of NCRT said that, man, this is ridiculous. So I mean, I had to fall back. I'll tell you, I had to fall back on a book that is completely out of print and that we used to do during our, seventh to 10th in our school. And it was like a quote I mean, it was like a new course in geometry by Walker and Miller. The problem was that it was like falling apart. And he was just a kid, wouldn't be able to handle it. So 400 pages I scanned on my mobile and created a PDF and gave it to him. And he was like, Chal padi. So initially, obviously, the thing was another thing. I mean, during this period, what I had observed was, see, problem what is never taught. There are two things that are never taught in school. I mean, in the current system, and I think one is at a very high level. They never teach you how to think, but expect you to think.
Yeah.
Yes. And the second thing is that specifically in mathematics, kids are never taught how to read mathematics textbooks,
True.
or even asked to read textbooks. So my thing was that I'm not going to spoon feed you. You are on your own. You get stuck, come to me, I try to explain.
Hmm.
So that's how it is. Another anecdote I'll tell you, I mean, that really put me in a very difficult position, and I had to spend close to 10 days to actually get back to him, was something like, I mean, suddenly wanted to say, I mean, how does Google search work?
This is in class
What do you ask?
seventh,
I
sixth,
mean, even before that, I
oh,
think it was most probably in class fifth. Papa, how does this work?
yeah.
I'm typing this word, all these are coming. How does this work? So how do I explain it to you? Give me some. So actually, I had to go through the entire dig up and do my own research about the entire page rank algorithm, the maths behind it, and everything, and then distill it to that class 5 level. Okay, this is how it is happening. I mean, with lots of analogies, of course. I mean, you won't be able to. I mean, you won't be able to understand eigenvalues and eigenvectors and all that at that stage. What is linear algebra? Although he knew a little bit about matrices, I mean, using this, the software tools. So this was this. But the real turning point, and it was, I mean, many people will curse me. I mean, actually, the lockdown and the COVID period was a blessing in disguise for me, because there was no school. I mean, it was online classes,
Hmm.
and maybe, it's again genetics at play or heredity at play. I mean, I was always a backbencher. So, I mean, I used to observe him. What he used to do was that you have this, he had this desk, the laptop was there, and the old desk, they had that keyboard slot. So what you do is that he has his class going on the keyboard, he has his other books, his algebra book or his geometry
Oh,
book or his number theory book, and
sir, could you repeat the last part again? I think you were. Uh,
yeah. So what I was telling was that, I mean, specifically during that lockdown period,
yeah, yeah.
the COVID period, I mean, it
When,
actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise for him.
hmm.
I mean, I mean, so there was no regular classes, and he was thrilled. I mean, he has his time to do his thing, right? So it was like the classes were going on. Okay, he would have his laptop. The screen was going on. He would be there. He'd be able to answer. I mean, a few things here and there. But below that, on the keyboard, what do you call that? The keyboard carrier, because you don't have a
Hmm.
keyboard for a laptop, right? Generally, I mean, uh, he has his someday he keeps his algebra book and his copy and is doing going on doing that,
Amazing.
or his geometry book and doing that, or his number theory book and doing that.
Okay.
I must have. And the remainder of the time, I didn't know. I came to know of it later. I mean, he, so one fine day he asked me, "Tell me what is the best programming language." I said, "What?" I said, "There is no best programming language." They started arguing me. This is one of the best programming languages, and you won't believe it. It is. It was an. It's. I mean, the most arcane language it picked up. In the sense, it was developed in MIT. Common Lisp. I said, I mean, hold on. You're talking about Lisp. Yeah, it's a beautiful language.
Hmm.
How do you know that? Papa, I wrote an interpreter with Lisp. You can write a interpreter for Lisp. I actually has that particular project on in public in GitHub. Just rewinding a few months ago. I mean, it was actually this March 2020. Now this is what happened. Like at that time, I was actually extremely busy. I had a couple of projects to attend to, and now he was like, "Papa, I'm bored. Give me a project." I said, "What? Give you a project?" I said, "Okay, one condition." Okay, what is it? I'm going to give you a project, but I'm not going to help you.
Hmm.
I'm not going to help you. It's all your own. I'm just going to give you the idea. Do whatever you like. I mean, on one hand, I just wanted to have him off my back because
Hmm.
I mean, I had deadlines to meet and all that. And this is what I told him. Let's see, this is COVID time. Build an application where anytime I can use and see, the number of infected people in each state, drill down to a district and everything. But I mean, I never expect what
This is
happened.
in class fifth we're talking about, right? 2020,
He
class fifth or sixth.
just passed, yeah, just passed. March, his final examinations had been over,
Hmm.
and it was like in sixth, just the beginning of sixth. So this was the thing. I mean, obviously you can understand. You remember that period. I mean, what would the? He was like, the classes were not there. It was basically blocked down, vacation, and everything. What to do? So this was the thing. So I said that okay, fine. Till then, I knew that he had done a little bit of programming in Python and all that, tinkered here and there, and in his free time. So this was the thing. I said that, भाई बच गया. 4 weeks later comes to me, Papa is done. What? I mean, it must be joking.
Hmm.
No, I'll give you a demo. Okay, fine. No, this guy, what he did was that he knew that Papa is not going to agree to host it. He went on to Heroku, got a free slot, and actually hosted his app. And it was working. And it was working. I'll be honest with you. I mean, many of us, many of my relatives and friends were actually using it during the first
Oh,
phase, COVID.
super, super.
Later on, I actually dug into his code. I said, "What have you done?" I mean, he had dug into all that. I mean, obviously, I mean, there were certain glitches and everything, but the core was solid and there was a proper demarcation between back end and front end and everything. That I was literally taken aback at that point of time. And then I told you the later stage, it was like he is dabbling with Lisp. And then he started coming back to me, you should be programming in Rust. I said, what? I
Hmm.
mean, are you crazy? He said, I mean, his thing was like, yeah, I mean, that is something that I used to tell him that, see, pay attention to the fundamentals. The rest will fall in place. I said, see, basically, it's the same thing. Said, "ठीक है." And then, there were many periods when we actually used to compete on lit code. I mean, but again, I mean, the thing is that there is a flip side to it. There is a flip side to it. And the flip side is that I had to sacrifice 2 hard disks.
Hard disks.
Blew up. Yes, completely blown up. I mean, one day he was trying with something called something called a fast multiplication algorithm, Stressen's algorithm. So I explained it to him just to get him off that it will take you time and all that.
Hmm.
इम्प्लीमेंट किया तो मुझे बोला पापा चल रहा है 10 by 10 से चल रहा है 100 by 100 से चल रहा है आई मीन इट वॉज माई फॉल्ट सेड try it out with the 1 million by 1 million. Crash the crash the
Hmm.
crash the hard disk and the system. So I mean there are pitfalls out there. But
I've
anyway,
been
I mean
using
it
that.
was a very enjoyable phase. And then what happened was that during that period we are very much trying to figure out because I was actually hitting how much time I could stay at that point of time. It was very difficult to manage that. And I saw him that he was ready for the next stage. You know, the proper Olympiads and everything. So one thing again, see, there have been many people directly, indirectly, who has been involved in this particular journey. And I remember the first person was that at that point of time, I think early 2020, I don't know whether Vedantu was there, because I actually couldn't find it because I'm not a very regular YouTuber.
Okay.
But what we found was iQuest, and he was hooked into the way, Ravi Vishnu, right? Vishnu
Request.
sir,
Yeah, yeah. Ravi, yeah,
yeah,
Vishnu sir.
Vishnu sir, Vishnu sir's teaching and all those. On the other hand, you won't believe it. One day he comes me up and asks me, "Have you heard of this guy, Ryman? You talking about the mathematician Ryman? Yes, Ryman zeta function." I said, "What?
Hmm.
Do you understand what it is?"
Hmm.
No, no, I saw a video on Chinta,
Hmm.
and the thing is really interesting. What did you make of it? Mind it, at that point of time, he didn't know complex numbers. He had no idea about. I mean, he started explaining. See, this is. I think it's very similar to this. This is this this this. This is complex. What is there? It's this. But do you know that this is still one of the unsolved problems? Yeah, isn't
Hmm.
it? And I had to step back. भाई मतलब I'm being forced out of my domain. I mean, this is where I hit the ceiling. इसके इससे ज्यादा मेरी बस की बात नहीं है.
Hmm. Hmm.
So at that point of time, I was actively looking, for some professional guidance. And at that point of time, because see, since 2010, I had actually been keeping a tab. Chinta had been there from 2010. So, but my conception was that it's a US based thing. And I mean, see, if you ask, convert USD to INR, I mean, it's beyond me. I mean, it's not possible. Then what happened was that there was this ad, his classmate only. I mean, later on became his batchmate in Chinta. This guy, there was an ad from there. Hold on, let me see. Talked out. And the problem was that because we were at that point of time in Vishakhapatnam, and there, the Andhra to Telangana belt is purely JEE. I mean,
Yeah.
everything is completely JEE. So I was not getting any local, someone to guide or something. I mean, I had even gone to Andhra University and everything, but nothing happened. So that is how he first got there, and that was the beginning of it. And see, I'll be honest about it. I mean, and there's no harm in a person taking help from multiple sides.
Of course, of
I
course.
mean,
Matlab,
yeah, and
we should be doing that.
at that at that particular point of time, what happened, I'll tell you. I mean, the faculty out there was really top notch. And some
Hmm.
of the guys who were initially teaching him are now doing their postdoc and something in some foreign universities or anything, and themselves being RMO awardees from Bengal and everything. So that was the structure. I mean, that actually put him into a little bit structure. Although on the flip side, what happened was that he became a bit circumspect in the sense. I mean, again, I will be cursed by many, but Chinta is more the old school type. I mean, you have that regimentation and sort of punctual discipline and everything. I mean, you're no kid, that
Hmm.
sort of stuff. Okay, he adjusted to it, and it was that. The thing was that the first time that he said that, okay, Papa, I want to give this. I mean, outside. For example, in sixth, I mean, during the COVID period, I mean, I said that no competitions. I mean, there was no sense, right? You give a SOF online. How do you ensure it is not proctored or anything? I said there's no point. I mean, do whatever you are enjoying, carry on. So next came, after that, it was in seventh.
Hmm.
Seventh, he had to shift his school. I mean, unfortunately, till then he was in with DPS Vishakhapatnam. But because of some, chaos with the management, many of the teachers had left and everything. So we had to shift school. And my first condition was that, because, see, we had come to know about NMTC. And I had gone multiple times to the principal out there. And the only reply was, sir, I mean, what's the point? Most people won't be interested.
Hmm.
That was the reply I had got. And it was very difficult. I mean, NMTC, you have to give it through the school.
Yes.
So the thing was that, my next thing was that there was the next school that I approached, and he already had all this SOF and all that. I mean, sometimes you have to play, right? My first condition was that, see, the only condition is this, that you have to have, so that he is able to give an MTC in his server.
Hmm.
And the director agreed. And he actually facilitated it. I mean, he was very
That was
supportive.
after he shifted to the school, he started MMT.
Yes, yes. So in seventh, he gave. Yeah, it was, shaky.
Hmm.
I mean, he could realize it.
Because for the
Then,
first time he was giving the exam
yes,
of that.
first time. No. In seventh, see, he gave an NMTC, he gave AMC8. See, the problem was this. Today, that, this, that it is possible for Indian students to give AMC8 or anything. When he was in sixth, we never had any idea that it was possible. He was actually, doing those from AOPS,
Hmm.
the MC8 papers, NMTC papers, and everything. But we had no idea that it would be possible. Then once he enrolled in a professional course, then we came to know that okay, it is possible. So for the first time he appeared was in 7 MC8. I mean, it was so. It was not. It was like enjoyable. He made his mistakes, learned from them, move on. Eight was a little bit unfortunate because of some personal things. Eight was the actually he wanted to sit for the first time for IOQM.
Okay.
But because of certain things, it just wasn't possible at that point of time. So instead, I said that okay, keep it for next year. But this year, then you have this AMC. He said that I'm going to give AMC 10. Go ahead. मैं कभी ना नहीं करता हूँ तो ठीक है जाओ दो AMC 8 दिया AMC 10 दिया. I was not expecting. He qualified with that cutoff and qualified for AIM. But then again, uska AIM is a different ball game. So gave it so हो गया. But in the interim क्या हुआ था? Just before his AMC 10, there's a mathematics competition in Andhra Pradesh which is conducted district wise, Ramanujan mathematics competition. So obviously from his school it was him. तो जाना पड़ेगा. तो फर्स्ट राउंड दिया तो आया मेरे पास दिखाया कि कितने आंसर करे. We generally used to joke, and I generally, just before after the exam, we never discuss it. We keep the postmortem for a little bit later. The emotions are down, and you think logically, and then to start analyze. So, and one thing that got me was that he had left all the geometry questions in that particular. क्या हुआ? But Papa, these are of a different thing. It's not the Walker Miller variety. And Walker Miller is really good. For the school level. Then I realized that okay, it's basically the next stage. So Dhunda idhar udhar. They were doing it in the professional course that he was doing in Chinta, but I said that okay. Then that is when he actually slowly started with EGM. Ivanch. A big fan of that book. And mind it, this was November. This happened early November. This particular first level debacle. But again, finally we heard that he had qualified. Okay. So the next thing was, it was like वो जो होता है ना कि जुनून, geometry तो ठीक करना है. And then it was like, well, slowly it became his favorite. You know that. After that, I mean, this year it has been a very, very hectic one. In the sense, see, we never knew कितना दूर मेरे को जब पूछा था go and enjoy. I mean, you have to enjoy the process. And another thing, I mean, another thing specifically we were caught off guard was the the difficulty level of IOQM.
Hmm.
Honestly, I mean, he started his IOQM preparation. I mean, if you call that preparation, beginning of August, that through a few mock tests. I think that was the first time he came across VOS and took the test series, enjoyed it, and I mean, he used to make his own mocks from some of the HMMT papers.
Okay.
I mean, for practice.
You're
and
randomly
all.
picking up questions.
Randomly. And वही अब मैं बोला था ना कि I mean, you think you plan and something goes wrong. You won't believe it. Started in August. बीच में 2 week बर्बाद हो गया. Fell down with viral and all.
Oh.
मैं बोला चलो फिर भी ठीक है. But again, we were not expecting what was in store. As I told you, I mean, क्योंकि बहुत सारी चीजें सीखना था. I mean, on hindsight, we learned. I mean, in IOQM, like, attempted many, right, but couldn't finish. I mean, the time management was a huge problem. Next, what happened was that, see, why I approached you, first of all, another thing about it was he knew Aharshi from Chinta.
Okay.
And they were in the same center.
Okay.
When they were coming out, they had this discussion and everything, and he told me, Papa, she is in VOS. I said, you want to join? He was like, you know him. कुछ बोलेगा नहीं. हाँ या ठीक है चलो. I'll talk to him. He was like, no, I mean, how are you going to approach him? I said, let me. We send him a mail. What's the worst? He's not going to reply. That's it. So you say where you are. And then after that, you know the entire story. And so this was the journey. The one thing that I missed was that, I remember at the very beginning of it, one book that he was really, I mean, it was like more of a, bedtime story for him, was How to Solve It by George Collier. I mean, you read it to me. जितना समझ में आता था मुझे पता नहीं. But it was like, he got that UPSC, understand, plan, solve, check, and that sort of stuff. But ये मुझे समझ में a class, a grade 2, I mean, कितना समझ में आया. But I used to read it to him. ठीक है.
So
This
one
is
thing
the
that we are
thing.
going to do, sir, is so we are going to list down the list of books that you've narrated in this session and probably put that in the description so that.
Sure. I'll what I'll do is that I'll send you, because I mean, these are the extraneous things, but they help a lot.
Yes, so that is very important because I think in today's time, the only thing which is missing from India's growth story, as a researched nation or probably a developed nation, is the research which is not happening. And I think the schools and teachers, like teachers are the major reason to blame, right? And again, the lack of awareness of the parents and the students onto these amazing things which they're missing, like Olympiads and problem solving skills, which I think
Exactly.
a school going student does not have at this point of time. So one more thing which is very important, and a lot of parents I know for sure would want to hear is, were you at any point of time but afraid of his school marks per se, or did you put any pressure on him to
No,
improve his marks in school?
no. I mean,
Or
the pressure came from the school,
okay,
not from my side.
but was he
Not
performing? How was he
Yeah,
performing
yeah.
in school?
I'll tell you. Till eighth. I mean, it was a standing joke between us. I used to tell him, "अरे तुम तो मतलब खाली field में goal दे रहे हो." I mean, it was like, I mean, I think from his first standard to his eighth standard, he was number one.
Okay.
I mean, in all subjects, in most subjects, apart from Hindi, because unfortunately that's not his mother tongue, and he had to take it as the second language.
Okay.
And I am like, there was no one to guide him. So, but yeah, overall, used to keep it. This year, because of multiple things, and you can understand from since August, thing was that I have had to hear recently. I mean, his final exams, he has done it okay. I mean, more than 80% and everything, but it's not actually Aratrik's level. I said, my reply was, unfortunately, he also has 24 hours. I mean, what do you say? I
Hmm.
mean, everything has been informed. I mean, we had kept everything, everyone in the loop and everything. And even after that, if you have to hear that,
Hmm.
there's nothing else to say.
Hmm. True.
So yeah. Now, I mean, I know it has been I've taken a lot of time, but the thing is that to answer your question, and this is what I feel. Again, I'm not an expert. This is from my own journey, and I feel if I, the synopsis of all this is, I think for a parent, the job is not that difficult. I mean, it, and if you call it simple, it is actually not that simple. Again, I mean that's the dichotomy. So I think there are three things. It's basically you have to observe actually where his interest lies, his or her interest lies. The second thing is, as a parent, facilitate, because yes, if he wants, I mean any field, if he wants to go in physics, you have to actually see what are the best resources available, because at some point of time it will be beyond you. I mean, like I figured, I mean, someday he comes to me and says, Papa, do you know abstract algebra? I said, yeah, I passed that, but I mean, neither the professor nor the students had any idea what was happening. So, I mean, being an engineer, we never knew, I mean, we could never figure out why it was actually, we actually had that paper. He tried to tell me, see, I mean, this is what I said, please.
Hmm.
Not,
Beyond me now.
yeah, I am an engineer. I mean, we had the standard joke. I mean, we come across a problem, and the question is, how would an engineer solve it, and how would a mathematician solve it?
Yeah.
And you know who is going to take which side.
Yeah.
So the thing is that, yeah, as I said, the second important aspect I believe is facilitating, because the resources, and specifically, especially now, it's a problem of plenty. So
Yes.
many books.
True.
I mean, it's overwhelming for anyone. I mean, forget about a kid. It's overwhelming for me. I mean, sometimes I have to say, forget about that. That is not what is required. Just concentrate on, especially for a first time. I mean, the INMO. See, he had to do his PYQs,
Hmm.
and like I said, just put those channels on mute, the Telegram channels and everything on mute.
Yes. Very important.
Very important, because see, you get flustered. Anyone knows. If someone is doing this, ISL, someone is doing that and everything. I mean, you have a plan, stick to it. If it gets you, fine. Otherwise, you have next year. It was as simple as. Keep it very simple. So that is the facilitating part of it. But more than that, what I feel is, it's a psychological game. It's basically the motivation factor. I mean, in my case, it was like at the very age of 7. I mean, we made a deal, and my thing was this. See, if I tell you something to do or not to do, I'll give you the logical explanation behind it. Now, if you can counteract it with a similar logical argument, then you have your way. Other you have to follow me. So keep it logical.
Yeah, but yeah, one more thing to add, or probably ask is, did he have the down moments? Because in these kind of
Yes.
preparation, again, there are more down moments than the up moment. There are very less thrilling moments, and of course, the thrilling moments are when you solve, a very good question which you are stuck on for
Yes.
days, or. But again, mostly it is, kya hi ho raha hai, and all the difficult things. So how did you, help him cope up, or what was your role?
Yes. In that it was basically, obviously, I never knew about Olympiads. But again, as I shared to you one day, Uh, it was my struggle with problems in general physics by IE Rodo, which never had a solution at that point of time. Sometimes it took days, and it was like you're going crazy. I mean, banging your head on one particular problem. So, I mean, those are the things that I used to tell him that, see, this is the natural process. And you can take a shortcut, but then that entire thing is lost.
Hmm.
And you're talking about, dark moments, failures. I mean, there have been plenty. I didn't mention it. I mean, again, some of them were, I won't say his fault. I mean, it happened because of oversight or whatever. And some of them were completely inexplicable. Like I said, this time say MC2LP.
Hmm.
I
Yes.
mean, I haven't been able to figure that out.
Hmm.
None of us have. You have to accept it and move away. And it happened at a very wrong time.
Hmm.
Remember, during his INMO TC. So yes, there have been those things, and specifically, like I'll tell you, what used to happen. The general thing. What used to happen was that after the initial euphoria. That's why I never talk after an examination, because that time you clouded. There's a lot of emotions going on. I mean, you have heard this from so many people. You know, everyone is coming out, char kiya hai, panch kiya hai, and all that sort of stuff. And that's why you know, that's what happened in INMO. He called you up. He knew I'm not going to listen. Chal ghar chal.
Hmm.
So he called you up. So, but what happened is that after that, when we start to analyze, I mean, I try to get the answers from him on. Could you have done better? What do you think was the problem? ये तो तेरे को basics तेरे को पता था. Like this time we had a huge argument in after him. I said it was 68. You missed 13, 14.
Hmm.
नहीं हुआ क्या? Finally he agreed. आपको भी बता. Time management.
Hmm.
सीख रहा है. टाइम मैनेजमेंट आके बोलता है मुझे, सर पापा 4 लाइन में खत्म हो गया. अब बोलो 4 लाइन तो पहले वहां पे करते थे. So see, the thing is that I mean, uh, the point is that it's not that it's a completely thing ki sab changasi. No, that's not how it is. It's more of a pragmatic thing. That okay, see, as I told you, the thing is right now what is happening is that and this is, I think this is more of a West Bengal factor. And once you start doing the proof-based problems, he's playing games right now and observing me what I'm telling you. So the thing is that the proof-based problems. I mean, you start to neglect the value-based problems, something like that, and then you start paying the price.
Hmm.
So you realize it, and I said that see, you need to keep a balance. I mean, it cannot be subjective about कि ये है, ये करना है, ये नहीं करना.
जो पेपर पैटर्न है उसके हिसाब से ढलना पड़ेगा, मतलब यू कांट.
Exactly. See, I mean, the point is that see, first of all, this is an examination. Someone else is setting it for you. You always should remember this is not the test of a mathematician. The real test of a mathematician lies far ahead in future. This is not the test of a mathematician. Okay, another thing was another big influence was, I mean, Terence Tao. I mean, he had read. I mean, he had actually seen his blogs and everything. कितना समझ में आया मुझे पता नहीं, but pretty impressed. I mean, the youngest IMO awardee, something like that, and all that. So, I mean, those have been influences. Another, the non-conformist type of thing. Actually, this was something he read in class 4 or 5. I don't remember. It was one of my books. I actually handed it to him. "जाके पढ़ो." Surely you are joking, Mr. Finn. That was like, wow, sort of thing. So yeah, I mean multiple factors, right? I mean, it's not that, I mean, it's not that just this or that. I I mean, जैसे मैं बताया ना, he was into speed cubing. I mean, it's one of his hobbies. Then what happened was that he was actually going to participate in one of the competitions, and the lockdown came. And I mean, he had actually practiced to the point of bringing his 3 by 3 to a sub 20-second level, which is pretty huge. But Huani, when you're talking about setbacks, there have been quite a few setbacks.
But these are good setbacks now.
Yeah, I mean, ठीक है, जैसे कभी कभी खेलता है,
Yeah.
I mean, chess and all that. I said, see, everywhere you cannot be. I mean, see, you have to be logical about it. You have to focus your energy somewhere. I mean, you try to spread too thin, then you'll get frustrated. जैसे अभी तो मैं बता रहा था ना, आज एपीएम में कल बैठ बैठ गया ये लेके पापा, ठीक है, ये देखते हैं. I mean, what was that? ZIO paper or something like that. So
Amazing, sir. So much to learn, and I think you should probably write these memoirs in a book and sell it. Matlab, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of takers about, because I mean, it has been a wonderful journey as a parent, as a mentor, and there's so much to learn. I mean, I always keep on telling you this. I mean, I mean, you are actually an inspiration. The way you've raised Aratrik, and
yeah,
the way you perform.
it has been fascinating, but it has been challenging. And at the very beginning, I said I am up for the challenge.
Yes, amazing. Right. So thank you so much, sir. Right. I'm sure. I mean, this video is going to be a lot of, it is going to act as a lot of inspiration for a lot of parents, and who are actually going to, listen to a lot of things that you've mentioned and probably follow. I mean, their own path. Of course, we can take guidance, but again, every child is different. Every child is special, and we
Yeah,
have to. Yeah.
I mean, I just want to add one last point. I mean, I think as I said, the most, how do I put it, the most thing that I found most detrimental, you can say, put it, the wrong, the, the most wrong way is, do not need, whatever you do, do not demotivate.
Yeah. Of course.
I mean, there will be a lot of ups and downs. Sometimes, I mean, you'll be going in a direction you won't be able to understand.
Mm.
Be prepared for it. I mean, you won't be able to understand. I mean, we have our own, blind spots, and especially our generation. We have our own blind spots.
Mm.
Then you have to, let's see, how far it goes. Greatest thing that I have seen is that, that actually plays havoc. I mean, amply put in that particular song.
Which one?
वही आपका 99 मिला तो घड़ी नहीं तो छड़ी.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, give me some sunshine,
Yes,
sunshine,
yes,
give me some
yes,
rain.
yes. Perfect. Thank you so much, sir, for the words, for the time, for the session, and one thing that we are going to do, as told, is take the list of books that you mentioned in the session and probably put them in the description, so that it acts as a guiding light for all the ones who are actually wanting their parents to, or wanting their students to look this way. So thank you all, thank you everyone for listening to us.